Livia works at Fluminense Niterói Catholic University of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and she prepared a paper with Diego Santos and Vera Liz and Dube. Sorry for the pronunciation, Livia, for the names of your colleagues. And the communication is about food, gender, and oppression in a feminist Brazilian perspective. She will tell us about the connection between feminism and vegetarianism. She will also tell us about her views on the oppression of women humans and the oppression of non-human animals, that is. Livia, thank you for trying to stick within the 20 minutes allotted to you. And after 15 minutes, I'll let you know that you have 5 minutes left.
Okay, thank you very much. Everybody's listening to me. So the
Yes,
sound
very
okay?
well, Livia. Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, good afternoon to all. Until a few minutes ago, I was still in the morning in Brazil, but now I think we are beginning the beginning of the afternoon. Um, okay, I'd like to start, thanking. It's a pleasure to be participating in Manger en Ville de Troisième Édition. I want to begin thank you for the invitation to be part of the scientific committee and also the assistance of Justine Florent in the last few days. As Nicholas has said, my paper is about the view of 17 self-declared Brazilian feminist women about what they think uh, about the link between feminism and vegetarianism, but also if vegetarianism is the correct moral behavior for women. This work is part of a broader research project about contemporary, trends in food, and that I have been developing in the last few years. I'm going to set up I guess, the PowerPoint now, and it would be easy to follow. Uh, okay. So before, I want to call attention for the pictures of the PowerPoint. A few years ago, when I tried something similar, I could find very few ones. But as a matter of fact, now I can find so many that was difficult to choose. Everybody's listening to me?
Yes, very well, Livia.
Okay. So
We
I'm
don't
sure.
see your presentation yet, however. Is that normal?
Okay. Oh, no, it's on.
It is on for you? Okay.
Yeah, it's on for me. It's not for you.
Not yet. Do you want me to guide you, or would you like me to project your presentation for you?
Okay, well, it
Or
doesn't matter if,
doesn't matter.
if
Maybe if we have just 1 minute,
okay,
I can guide you again, and if that fails, I'll just take over.
okay,
So
thank you.
I'm assuming you have opened your presentation since you can see it.
Yes,
So
I'm the
now,
first slide.
yeah. So if you are in Zoom, you can see the menu, the main menu of Zoom, and there is a green button that says share screen.
Yes,
Yeah. If you click on that, then you'll be able to select your PowerPoint, and then we will be
I
able to
have to
see
go
it.
back. Okay,
Yeah.
but I did that before.
You did that
Okay,
before?
okay.
Does it say anything particular?
No.
No? Okay. There we go.
Well,
I see something now. Yeah. So now I
can
see
I?
your desktop. So if you open your presentation, I believe we'll be able to see it.
Okay. No, I'm.
Yeah, I see your desktop right now.
Yeah, I guess it's gone in the presentation.
Okay. Do you
Do
want me to share it for you?
Yeah, please do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will take time. Okay.
Okay. No problem. I'll do it right now.
We're going to open it full screen.
Yes, absolutely. Let me just relaunch this.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Okay. So let's go back. I was telling you that a few years ago, when I looked for similar picture, I couldn't find any, but the picture has changed, and now it's difficult to choose what picture to show. But anyway, uh, as you must, can you turn it for the second one? Okay. Um, as I guess you believe, or you must have observed in the last few years, what means to eat right or to eat well has changed a lot in contemporary society. It's not more a matter of nutritious or delicious food. Today, to eat right or to eat well means consider social, environmental, and ethical aspect involving your food choice. So expression like to vote with your fork, responsible eating are exactly expression of this, what I would call ethical turn in food. So this has led to a change in the meaning of eating from the personal, is political, but from something that was related to your private sphere, it become, public, your choice, they have a public repercussion. From a habit based on tradition, convenience, sociability, became a practice that you have to uh, do careful and responsible choice, and became also a source of identity and moral hierarchies. Very recently, I have opportunity to be introduced to three young women from different countries, and all of them mention their diet option among other things. I'm fulana, such and such. I am a vegetarian. I'm a vegan, or I'm a flexitarian. Practice that we wouldn't consider a few years ago of presenting ourselves in this way. So the growth of vegetarianism and veganism among the young population all over the world, even in China, can be considered as an expression of this ethical turn, and some of it of the worries about, you know, animal welfare and animal suffering. However, less known and discussed and parallel to this worry with animal welfare and animal suffering, there is a link between feminism and vegetarianism that was developed by the ecofeminists in the end of 80s and 90s in the 20th century. And according to it, uh, vegetarianism would be the correct moral behavior for a feminist woman. Um, can you change it? As we all know, feminism at its beginning had a troublesome historical relation with everything related to food, cook, and eating, because they were perceived with as tools for oppressions of women. Well, in the beginnings of the 21st century, these images start to change. But just referring to the past, I want to mention a say that used to appear in the Spare Ribs, that was a feminist publication of the 70s. And in that publication, there would be an ad that would say, first you fall in his arms, and then your arms will fall in his sink. So during a lot of years, discussing diet, what to eat, and cooking, and eating would be an expression to be yielding to a patriarchalism oppression. This, with the ecofeminists, this change, although it's not a very popular type and well-known type of feminism, this has changed. They propose food as a key political weapon to fight against the patriarchalism, capitalism in their structure of oppression over women and animals, and also nature. But which are the theoretical fundamental arguments of the feminists? Flora, I would ask you to change. Several. I will make a long story a short one. First of all forms of oppression are interconnected. They reinforce one another, and they are consequence of one single system of inequalities, patriarchalism. So there is no purpose in a hierarchy of causes. So the idea that we will first fight in favor of equal rights and then we'll take care of racism is not true proposition for the ecofeminists. All fights, they have to be fought simultaneously because, if you if you one is turned, weak one, all the others, the idea is that if you fight against all of them, they will all collapse together. There is a philosophical discussion about that, but there's no point in going into that. So for them, vegetarian feminism is the logical development of feminism and ecofeminism. Besides, the oppression of non-human animals is at the root of all other types of oppression. The inequalities among humans are then structurally similar to the treatment imposed to animals. That's why sexism is so intimately linked with speciesism and other modernism like classicism, racism, and naturism, and so on. Meat eating is the best expression of patriarchalism, of the oppression of women and non-human animal. Consequently, you know, vegetarianism is the correct moral behavior for feminist women. Of course, you know, uh, but see, ethical vegetarianism now should not be uh, understood only as a diet based on nutritional, health, and environmental reasons, or a position adopted for the sake of animal rights, as argued by utilitarian and libertarian perspective developed by Peter Singh, Tom Regan, and many others. It's important to stress that the feminists, they were, arguing with the moral traditional in philosophy. They were arguing that not only the idea of rational arguments would convince people, on behalf of the suffering animals. For ecofeminists, the adoption of vegetarian diet represents both an attitude, an ethical attitude, and also a political act. So for them would be a natural diet for the feminists. It's a form of resistance of capitalism, male dominant culture, and which meat consumption is one of its sharpest expression that treats unequally and oppressively both women and no human animal. Which were their, I just go back a little bit, no, we must go on. I change it here. So to be a feminist implies also to be a vegetarian. Of course, with this moral mandate, there is a lot of critics, but there is also a lot of support. I'm not going over them because they are very extensive one, but the most known are Diane Coates, the suggestion of a contest of vegetarianism, Catherine Preston George, that would argue that the vegetarian diet had a higher cost of for children, women, and elderly, and in this case, it will infringe the universality, equality, and impartiality principle on which moral theories are based. Val Plumwood, an environmental Australian philosopher, that classify ontological vegetarianism as she would uh, label, the position of the ecofeminists, but also the utilitarians of John Regan and Peter Singh, um, as another ethnocentric and divisive theory between man and nature, and she would propose ecological animalism that would give support to a new identity for the humankind in the context of nature. And would for also other feminists would be also an attack on women's autonomy and rights of choice that for centuries had been curbed, curbed and captured by patriarchal society. But what about these polemic statements? What Brazilian self-declared feminists that I interview, you know, think about, and which implication these have for their everyday gastropolitics in the sense used by Apadurai. Okay, we work with a very highly educated, most women, they had a master or a PhD degree, belonged to middle and high middle class in income terms, defined according to IBGE criteria. Their range was from 19 years old to 61 years old. Majority, they were working as university professor in public and private university. And we 52% of the sample, they were vegetarian or vegans. That was not a criteria for us. The only criteria will be self-declared feminists and would be activists. Most of them, they were support of left-wing parties, all of them, as a matter of fact. We asked them about their history and trajectory in feminism, and which kind of feminism they practice, like intersectional feminism, Marxist feminism, materialist feminism, and so on. How they arrived to be feminists, the influence of the family. And we also ask them reflection of their diet, vegetarianism, veganism, and for the ones that are meat eaters, know what they think about, their meat eating, and the impact in their sociability and family relations. So, and then we ask them
Attention,
if
Olivia, il reste juste 5 minutes. Ça
Okay.
marche?
Well, ça marche.
5 minutes, Livia.
Okay, I will be fine. Okay, and then we ask them about what they think about the link between feminism and vegetarianism, and if they agree or not that vegetarianism was the correct moral behavior for feminist women. It's important to mention almost all of them had little or no knowledge about ecofeminism, its theory, authors, and key issues. I heard something, I read something, someone mentioned something, but nothing very much beyond that. So we present them with, their theories, the authors, and the key issues, and how they reacted to that. However, and that's interesting because their feminism, works parallel to their vegetarian or vegan options when they are vegans or vegetarians, in the sense that 52 were vegans or vegetarians, also feminists, but they never had made the link between vegetarianism and feminism. Um, for them, vegetarian was for the vegetarians and vegan ones, the original reason for the options was not a link between woman and animal, but about animals suffering and, in some cases, environmental causes. It's interesting to mention that the meat eaters, half of them, they demonstrate uncomfortable, a little bit uncomfortable with their diet options in terms of health, in terms of animal suffering, and in terms of meat industry and capitalism. For the vegetarian, their diet option did not impact in their sociability in the extent that we would imagine. For just one, that her option would impact even in her emotional and sexual life. She would prefer to have only vegetarian partners. For the others, some of them were married or in a stable relationship with men that they would be meat eaters. For them, most of them, only the three youngest ones saw that there were a structural and fundamental link between feminism and the speciesism, that the oppression of women would be similar to the oppression of animals. I'm just going to read one citation. The world has been subjugating animals, owning and disposing of their bodies as if they were created to serve them. And this is similar to what has been done all along with women. That's why women manage to identify themselves more with vegetarianism than men. We have empathy with the thing of domination. Regarding the question if, is vegetarianism the correct moral behavior for feminist women, um, again, the two youngest one, they consider that there would be a kind of moral obligation. But then there is, when you compare these results with another two papers that I found, that are relating, vegetarianism with feminism, the reaction is different. The two girls that would consider the correct moral behavior would make a point of expressing carefully that their position didn't mean that they would be accusing other of speciesism, like in other paper I have read, but they didn't want to disqualify other women's feminism. Their choice was good for them. She wouldn't criticize other women's choice. And for the majority of other, although they could admit some similarity in the oppression, the condition, legal, moral, political condition of women would be completely different from animals. They would be much more concerned if they adopt vegetarianism as a way to fight against meat industry. And that's the main point. They would be more concerned about fighting the meat industry than anything else. And some of them even consider that there would be no sense in this comparison. And I'm gonna read my second and final citation. I do not consider that to be a feminist woman also implies being vegetarian or vegan. I eat meat and I do not intend to stop doing so for feminist reasons. What worries me is the sustainability of our food habits and animal welfare and suffering, in the sense that it bothers me to eat animal that was ill-treated. I also do not like to finance the meat industry, but not as an expression of fighting oppressions. I would not feel less oppressed as a woman for not eating meat. At most, I would be collaborating less with the meat industry. Okay, so I give the floor back to you. I hope they stay inside my time.